Fireworks are not allowed within the city limits of College Station or the city limits of Bryan.
Right.
They are just not allowed.
Illegal.
If you are popping firecrackers in the city limits and we have to come out, we are going to take the fireworks away and we're going to give you a citation. So don't do it. Even if you're in part of Brazos County where you can use fireworks, I'm still recommending that you go to a professional show and do that. Even if you're very careful, you can get burned, or a small child can get burned. Actually, the worst firework out there for burns and burn injuries every year is the same one that we hand all the little kids. It's sparklers.
What's up, College Station? I'm Grace Hollowell, and today I'm joined once again by Stu the Fire Guy. Welcome, Stu.
Good to be here.
Yes, it is our annual 4th of July Don't Set Off Fireworks Within City Limits episode.
That's right. The fire department appreciates it if you would not blow your fingers off with fireworks this year.
Yes, that is something we are asking very kindly, very nicely. And people know you here. You've been on the show before. So my first question is, what changes for you in the summertime versus the rest of the year?
For the fire department, what changes is the heat. Since we do so much EMS at the fire department, running the ambulance, responding to 911 calls, we see an increase in heat-related emergencies. That's just people getting out and being active, doing sports or doing work in their yard and becoming overwhelmed with the heat. Because they're not drinking enough water, or they didn't wear the proper clothing for the heat. So we see an increase in heat-related calls. And when things dry out, when we don't have enough rain, we see an increase in wildland fires. And usually in the city, that's just something along the highway, a small spot fire down Highway 6 or along some of our other busier streets. But we do get out in the county some bigger fires, and we respond with the county fire departments to go help with those too. So we see fires and we see heat-related emergencies during the summer.
Yes, I had my first brush of like a heat-related situation where I was like, oh boy, I need to cool down. This was a few months ago. We went to Disneyland in California, and I thought I had drinking enough water, but it was a long day of traveling and flying, and I was not properly hydrated, and I could kind of start feeling my muscles kind of shake, and I was like, oh, this is intense. I need some water, some electrolytes, an AC break.
Yeah.
Need to ride It's a Small World for a little bit, cool off.
Those are all good ideas, yes. Drink plenty of water ahead of time if you can, or try to catch up. Drink water, drink Gatorade, a sports drink. If you're sweating especially, drink those electrolytes. Find some cool place to sit down and rest. And plan your activities for early in the day or maybe late in the day, but not during the middle of the day in the height of the heat.
Yes, absolutely. So what is your favorite part about your job during the summer months?
I'll answer it this way. So during the summertime, because it is so hot outside, a lot of the training that we do as firefighters, we move it inside. And so if we can do our training in the bay, where we're just in the shade, or if we can do our training inside. Sometimes our training involves classroom training. So instead of being outside on a rooftop or outside on some of our fire training props, we'll move our training inside to a classroom. We'll focus more on EMS training that we can do inside. That way we are not out exposed to the heat and wearing ourselves out doing our normal training, and we're still fresh and able to go to those calls that we have to go to during the summer.
Yes, absolutely. Summer can be brutal in Texas if you are outside. So what are some of the most common fire risks that residents face during the summer months?
A lot of it is just dry grass.
Yeah.
That's from, it might be someone dragging their chains on a trailer down the highway. It might be someone who's out doing some yard work with a weed eater or a chainsaw, and they set that hot engine down in the grass to do something else for a while, and that hot engine will start a fire. Another thing that is a danger is people burning when they shouldn't be, or burning and not paying attention to it. Burning trash or burning a little brush pile, or even grilling outside and not staying by the grill and paying attention to it. And those fires can get blown up, blown away, and start fires where you don't want fire.
So what are some simple steps that families can take to reduce the risk of a fire emergency at their home?
Just have adult supervision at all times if you're doing anything that is risky, especially if you're in a place in the county where you can do fireworks this year. Always have adult supervision. With the 4th of July and pretty much all summer long, you want to be outside, you want to be grilling, or you want to have a little campfire and roast marshmallows. Always have adult supervision. Always have somebody who's watching out, because little kids love to play and experiment with fire. Just poke a stick in there and catch it on fire, wave it around, or catch a marshmallow on fire. And when they're not being supervised by someone who can keep them safe, then the accidents happen. That might be catching something on fire. That might be burning themselves or burning a friend who's nearby. So always have adult supervision when you're doing anything that involves fire outside.
Yes. And speaking of grilling and cooking outdoors, what are the most important safety tips? I know we touched on it kind of there. People should remember before starting their grill.
What people love to do is start their grill and walk off to let it heat up. Have a plan to do something where you're nearby that grill and watching it. Whether it's charcoal or gas, you want to be nearby and watching it, because any number of things can happen. You can have a flare up from old grease that's on the grill. It can get knocked over by a pet or a child. It can blow over on a windy day. So always plan to be out there with the grill. Don't start it and go back inside for 15 minutes to prepare the food. Have somebody out there who's with it and watching it. Another good idea is to have a water hose that can reach that area. You don't have to turn it on and have it charged and ready to go, but have a water hose already connected that will reach the area where your grill is. Just in case something happens and something catches on fire that doesn't need to be on fire, you can quickly get water out there and put the fire out.
Yes, and how far should grills be kept from homes, garages, decks, or other structures?
There's a minimum number of feet, but far enough away so that you can get the fire out. If the grass catches on fire between your house and your grill, where you have time to go put it out.
Yes.
I think 10 feet is the minimum, but that seems really close.
Yeah.
Another good idea is to keep your grill, if you have a patio or a gravel driveway, if it's to put it on the patio, a concrete patio, not a wood deck, but a concrete patio or a gravel driveway, so that if anything falls out or hot grease pours out, splashes out, runs out, it's not running onto wood or onto grass.
And what should someone do if a grease fire does occur?
The best thing to do if your grill catches on fire, and it's usually the fats and oils and the grease that's in it makes it flare up, best thing to do is to stop the heat source. So turn off the propane or put water onto the coals that are burning.
Yes.
Now, that's putting water on, it's going to ruin your food. I'm sorry. That's unfortunate.
Maybe order a pizza.
That is a whole lot better than having to deal with a fire on your patio or the fire spreading to the grass or the fire spreading to another structure. So remove the heat source, and that's same thing goes for fires in your kitchen. If you have a fire in your stovetop, you turn the stove off. If you have a fire in your oven, you turn the oven off. And then just cool the area, cool the grill, cool what's on fire with water if you have it, or use an extinguisher if you have it.
Yes, and are there common grilling mistakes that tend to surprise you when you see them?
They don't surprise me anymore. I've seen them too often. It's what gets people in trouble is walking away from the grill.
Yeah.
And that's because you get flare-ups. Grills are just not always clean.
Yeah.
And that old grease accumulates and they flare up. And that's what gets people in trouble. They flare up, and besides ruining their food, they have a big fireball.
Yeah. And I would rather have ruined food and have to order DoorDash than a big fireball, and sounds like a whole mess.
Yes.
Well, switching gears here to talk about fireworks safety. It is the America 250 celebration this year. I expect there are going to be some big celebrations. Fireworks are definitely popular. What are the regulations regarding fireworks in College Station?
So fireworks are not allowed within the city limits of College Station or the city limits of Bryan.
Right.
They are just not allowed.
Illegal.
If you are popping firecrackers in the city limits and we have to come out, we are going to take the fireworks away and we're going to give you a citation. So don't do it. it's best to go to a professional show and enjoy fireworks that way. Even if you're in part of Brazos County where you can use fireworks, I'm still recommending that you go to a professional show and do that, because there is a risk of fire. There is a risk of burns. Even if you're very careful, you can get burned, or a small child can get burned. Actually, the worst firework out there for burns and burn injuries every year is the same one that we hand all the little kids. It's sparklers.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, we're usually very careful about the big fireworks that make the loud boom, but we light sparklers and hand them to little children, and that's why we have so many burns. They burn at up to 1,200 degrees or hotter, and then even after they burn out, what do little kids do? They just throw them down. Throw them down in the grass. So they start a grass fire, or some other little barefoot kid comes and steps on it, or something like that happens. So even the ones that seem very safe and child-friendly, sparklers, can be very dangerous. So a good alternative for fireworks is glow sticks, confetti poppers, other kind of noisemakers, and silly string even. Oh, that kind of a mess to pick up, but anything else that isn't a spark or a flame, but children can still find to have fun with, is a good alternative for fireworks.
Yes, water guns even.
Water guns. Oh, yeah. Perfect. There you go.
So how does extreme heat, I know we mentioned this kind of at the top of the show, increase a fire risk during the summer? We've touched on kind of the safety risks of it, but how does the extreme temperatures pose risks to fires? So
you're going to have, if you have dry conditions and you throw fireworks on top of that, you have extra risk. Even in, everyone's seen a professional show where one of the rockets doesn't go as high as it should, or gets knocked over and goes off to the side. So that can happen to you. It can, and if that rocket explodes too close to the ground or on the ground, all of a sudden you have hundreds of little fires that could potentially start all over your property. And if the conditions are dry and even a little bit windy, you're going to have a really big problem really quickly.
Yes, so come to our I Heart America celebration at Wolf Pen Creek on the 4th. The gates, I believe, open at 7 o'clock. Leave that to the professionals. It'll be a great show, and it'll save you your fingers if you do it yourself. So what should residents do if they spot a grass or brush fire?
If you notice a grass fire, call 911 first. Get emergency responders on the way. We have very fast response from the city of College Station and the city of Bryan, but also our volunteer departments in the county. They're actually not just volunteer departments anymore. They have paid staff on duty at these Brazos County Fire Departments, so there's always someone ready to respond, and they can respond very quickly, and they have the right equipment for a brush fire or wildland fire. They have trucks that can go off-road and carry water to the fire, so call 911 from your cell phone immediately to get help on the way. If you can get water to the fire through a water hose or a bucket, do that. Otherwise, try to smother it out. And then if you have to, warn others. If the fire is moving towards someone's home or someone's property, then you need to call your neighbor or go knock on their door and warn them.
Yes. And I know we mentioned talking about supervising children when you are cooking outdoors or there is fire involved, but that goes for pets too, correct?
That's right. Just establish a no-go zone around your grill when you're outside. No kids allowed, no pets allowed. If that means you have to put the dog in the kennel for a while, then put the dog in the kennel. Move the kid games away from the grill. Just don't let that happen, and it's a distraction for you, and it's dangerous for the kids.
Yeah. So switching gears from outside to inside, how often should smoke alarms be tested, and why is it so important to test those?
We say test them twice a year. A good way to remember that is if you set your clocks back for time change, go around the house and test your smoke detectors, or any other time you think about it. If it's just been a while, test your smoke detectors. There's a button on them you push, it says push to test. It'll give it a few beeps. You'll know that it's good to go. A lot of smoke detectors now have a 10-year battery in them, so that you don't have to change the batteries every 6 months and put a new 9-volt battery in there. They just come with a battery that lasts for about 10 years, but you still want to test those and make sure that they're working.
Yes. And then how important is it to have a fire extinguisher nearby or a fire safety kit in your home for just in case things go wrong?
Yeah, in our house we have a fire extinguisher in the kitchen, and we have a first aid kit for simple little things that could happen, like a burn that happens in the kitchen often. We also keep an aloe plant growing somewhere in a windowsill or out on the patio. But the important thing about a fire extinguisher, sometimes I've seen in people's homes, they buy one, they think, oh, I'm good, and they put it under the sink, and then after several months and after several years, the fire extinguisher gets pushed to the back, and it's behind the Clorox wipes, and it's behind the Fabuloso, and it's behind the barkeeper's friend, and it's behind all the stuff that you usually go to first, and way back in the back is the fire extinguisher, and it's forgotten about. And then if something happens on the stovetop, you're looking around for it, you can't remember where it is. Ours sits out on the countertop. It is right there. It's not the prettiest countertop decoration ever, but it is very important to know where it is so that it can be grabbed very quickly.
Do those ever expire? Is that something you need to
check?
They
do. Yeah, okay. They'll come with a tag. They'll come with an expiration date, and they do need to be disposed of and replaced when they expire.
And how would someone dispose of an old extinguisher?
The most fun way to dispose of an old fire extinguisher is to take it out and practice with it.
Okay.
Because it may be out of date, but it probably still has some pressure in it. So just pretend that you have a fire in a little certain area and practice pulling the pin and aiming and squeezing and sweeping it side to side, and watch the dust come out, the powder come out, the extinguishing agent, and use it as practice. And then it's empty and it doesn't have charge in it, and you can throw it away and go buy another one.
I never would have thought of that.
they're not inherently dangerous. I mean, they're just a pressurized can.
Right.
And so I'd say go out and practice with it. Show the kids how it works. Let them practice with it a little bit. Let them feel what it feels like to squeeze it and see the powder come out, and then go buy a new one.
Yes. And why is it so important for families to practice fire drills or safety drills in their home?
Yeah, it's important for families to practice these because it's something that you want to have, it's the motions you want to have gone through before you have to do it for real.
Yeah.
And so you want to practice exiting the house when it feels more safe for the kids and for everybody. Like, do it during the day where you can see everything, so that when you have to do it at night when it's dark, you'll be more comfortable and more capable. So practice with the kids. Okay, if the fire detector goes off, the smoke alarm goes off, it's going to sound like this, and make it go off and let them listen to the sound. And then practice with them. How are they going to get from their room to the nearest exit? How are they going to? What does it feel like to crawl to the nearest exit? Do they have stairs that they have to go down, or stairs that they have to go up? Is there obstacles that are going to be in the way? And what if this way is blocked? What if I can't go that way? Where am I going to go next? What if I can't get out of my room? What if I feel the door and it's really hot, or I open the door and all the smoke comes in at me and I have to shut my door again? What am I going to do then? What are all my options?
Yeah.
Have them practice that during the day, when they can ask questions, when they can get it wrong so that you can correct them. And then if it ever happens, they've been through the motions a few times. They're sleepy. They'll hopefully remember what to do.
Yes, and that is something that I remember practicing as a kid. Like, I'm never going to need to know this. Like, it's fine. There's not going to be a fire. And then one day something caught on fire in the kitchen, and I was in my room. I opened my door. All the smoke comes in, and I had to think back to, oh my gosh, what did we practice? And that is something I did remember in that high pressure situation, going through all the drills, army crawling out of my room to get out of the house. And thankfully it was a small fire, and it didn't cause too much damage. But those skills that we practice, they really come into play in that emergency situation.
Well, and it's important, too, for the adults in the house to be on the same page about what we're going to do, especially if there's young children. So, like my wife and I, we need to know who's going to go get the 4-year-old, and who's going to see about the pets, and who's going to make sure that the 10-year-old and the 13-year-old did what they were supposed to do and got out, and who's going to actually pick up the phone and call 911 while all this other stuff is going on. There's just a lot to think about really quickly, which is why it's good to practice. And it's good to practice often. It's not something that you can do once and think, we're good. We practiced a few years ago. Practice every year. Make it something that you do regularly as a family, and you can make it into a game almost if you want to. Another thing to consider is if you have guests over often, say grandma always comes over to visit you, make sure she is aware of what to do if there's a fire. Where are we supposed to meet outside? Do we meet by the mailbox? Do we meet by the big tree? Do we meet at the neighbor's front door? That way, with people who are usually over at your house as company, if you have guests over a lot, let them know what the plan is, because it could happen on a night when you have company.
Right, absolutely. It doesn't pick and choose when it's going to start. So briefly, we'll mention gathering around pools because it is hot in the summer, and that is a great way to cool off. Are there any fire or electrical safety concerns people should keep in mind when being around water?
Yeah, it's summertime, and so you're going to find yourself at a pool. One rule that we have in our family, and that we share with all of our friends when we're at the pool, is everybody is a lifeguard.
Yes.
Even if you're at a city pool where they have lifeguards in red suits who are up on the lifeguard stand under the umbrella watching, still, everybody at the pool is a lifeguard. Everybody needs to be scanning in a way. There's a little kid over there. I'm going to, just watch that little kid. Is that one struggling? No. Okay, that one's fine. Oh, the mom is right there. Okay. Everybody is a lifeguard when you're at the pool. Even if I have a 10-year-old and she swims for Tsunamis, the swim team in College Station, I tell her, you're a lifeguard. If you see another kid struggling, go help. Or get help. You are on duty as a lifeguard. It doesn't matter that you're here for fun with your friends. If you see someone struggling, which is always be scanning the pool, and that for all the parents too. Don't just watch your kids. Watch out for the other kids there.
Yes, absolutely. And that goes for at home or at the community pools. We're all in this together to help keep everybody safe. But before we wrap up, in summary, what is the best piece of advice you can give for fire safety in the summer?
Fire safety in the summer is to be present. If you've got a grill going or a campfire, or you're doing fireworks, or you're at the pool, just be present.
Yes. Well, we have a fun, quick lightning round of questions before we end. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Gas grill or charcoal grill?
Gas.
Okay. Best way to stay cool during a Texas summer?
Go to H-E-B and stand in front of the ice cream, the Bluebell display.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. What is one thing residents would be surprised to learn about firefighters?
Firefighters in College Station mostly do EMS work.
Yes.
We fight very few fires. Yep.
Yes. Most important thing to do when a smoke alarm goes off?
Is to get out.
Yes. And finally, if you could give every resident one fire safety reminder, what would it be?
Check your smoke detectors.
Check your smoke detectors. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
And that's what's up.